Hey guys, Azzapp here, and today I will teach you everything you need to know about League of Legends. If you guys don't know me, I'm Azzapp and I'm known for my vel'koz. I've been playing League for 11 years and I will try to teach you everything I know. I played competitively amateur scene Season 5, Season 6. Since then I've been coaching and focusing on content creation. I've been a consistent challenger, and for the last couple of seasons I've gotten 3 challengers, each on different servers. EUS, Nordic and East, and North America on 150 ping. I've been predominantly playing vel'koz, so if you have a bit of a higher understanding of the game, you will know how much that means to actually get those challengers. If you're curious about 150 ping excursion and how I did that, there's a really good video you should check on that. It's one of my favorite videos ever and perfectly encapsulates all the skills that you should be gaining after watching this course. So yeah, we have a lot of ground to cover and let's go. By the way, today's video has been sponsored by Inside GG. One of the key components of improving and getting better in League of Legends is watching your own replays. So Inside GG launched a high-performance game capture that makes recording and reviewing easy. It automatically detects kills, deaths, which we're going to talk about later, and assists so you never miss an important play. It's free to download with the link below. Okay, so let's get into the stuff. I assume by clicking on this video, you want to get better. First, we have to talk about what constitutes being good, being a good player. People usually use rank and elo to convey skill, which is in most cases good enough estimation of your true power. Real skill actually constitutes this amalgam of your total game knowledge and your ability to put it into practice. Elo and skill are loosely entangled and they don't really wander off too much from each other. So you can safely say that a player who is a challenger, who has challenger game knowledge, who's been there, can never remain locked in gold elo, for example. Okay, so we know that your elo is not 100% representation of your skill. Now that doesn't mean you're in bronze only because of unlucky promos and you truly belong in challenger. No. Now forgive my paint skills because it took me about 10 minutes to draw a straight line. But this is how it goes. Now, league rank follows normal distribution. Okay, and the x-axis presents your elo or rank. So naturally, we'll find most players at 50th percentile. That falls around gold elo. So if you're in this gold elo, let's say, we can for certain say that your skill is not at the bronze level, nor at the challenger level. So even if you are at that 50th percentile skill level, doesn't necessarily mean you will be in gold elo. You can range from anywhere from silver to platinum. Now there's a lot of factors that impact that. Skill is the #1 primary. Other parameters that define it are something like luck, consistency, your playstyle, and the champion you play, the impact that your champion has. Now many people take these things into consideration, so we're going to talk about the champion impact a bit later down the road because it might get a bit complex. It's very important to know that solo queue is very different from competitive. Solo queue puts great emphasis on your consistency, mentality, endurance, and at the end of the day it's just a numbers game. What if I told you when you leave this video that even if you don't become a better player, I could get you to be 1 or 2 divisions higher easily, without even improving you at all. Now that sounds counterintuitive, but I'll show you how it works. Okay, let's say these black lines represent your peak skill levels. So sometimes you can perform, let's say, like a platinum player, or sometimes you can perform like a silver player. Now obviously, if you look at it, your average will be across gold. So a good trick to improve your elo in short term is minimize your bad games. Because you know yourself, you know when you play, sometimes you're going to have pop-off games where you just crush everyone, but sometimes you're going to have terrible games where you just give up early, you don't want to do anything, and essentially you're just dead weight to your team. Sometimes people don't even want to get carried due to their ego. So if you don't even become a better peak player, you don't even improve as a peak player, you just improve as an average player, which means you get more consistent, so you minimize your bad games. If you're playing bad, slow it down, relax, don't tilt, play safe, farm up, get carried. If you minimize your bad games, your worst performance will upgrade. So if you minimize your worst games, your low level will improve. Your worst level will improve by, let's say, this much. So what that does is, doesn't make you a better player at the peaks, but it makes you a better average player, which will push your average. And that is essentially what solo queue rewards heavily. If you have a really good consistency, if you have really good average, you will climb. So yeah, this is what I mean by solo queue being a numbers game. It's just your average performance because you don't always play the best. So yeah, this is one good mathematical trick you can do to improve your averages, because it's a lot easier to fix your worst moments than improve your best. It's very difficult to build on top of a really good performance, which you will do across time eventually, because even by minimizing your worst games, you will learn a lot and get better as a peak player. Like, that portion will come by itself. because you will realize way more about the game. But yeah, when working in averages, it's always better to fix the downside. Okay, this is my third pain block and my final one for this video. I don't want to bother you too much with this, so after this one we go into concrete stuff. Okay, let's say that the top line presents perfection, pure skill, the best player on the planet, which doesn't exist, a perfect player. Now the bottom line would represent garbage, obviously. The red line represents you and your current skill. I would say that most pro players operate at about an 85 to 95 percentile pure skill level. And they're always trying to get better, and they're always slightly improving and trying to reach that 100% perfection. But every change in the game, every new patch, every new addition to the game, the roof slightly rises. And the game has more total knowledge to be learned and more mechanics to be mastered. Now, I'm not showing you this just for my love of perfection and trying to strive for that perfect AI player, but also to show you a valuable point. In order to get better, you need to learn how to aim properly. Like, let's say when I first started playing the game, it was season 1, no one knew how to play, so we were just wandering around doing random stuff and slightly pulling out abstractions from the game, trying to learn and get better. So our aim was something like this, because we just didn't know how to improve. We were just wobbling all around the place. Nowadays, with all the educational content and all the streamers and all the guides, your aim is probably a bit more robust and better construed, so you're probably aiming something like this. So my point is, if you want to improve the fastest way possible, you need to look towards this line. You need to try to find that line to perfection. Now, to get close to that perfection line, you have to adapt learning mentality. That means questioning everything you do in a game. Your first assumption is, what did I do wrong? How can I do it better? Everything that happens, you look for a reason and why it happened, and you try to change it. One of your best ways of improving is looking towards your deaths and see if they have been worth. In an ideal player, none of your deaths should happen without a reason. They have to be justified. You have to gain something more than what you gave in. When something goes wrong, your first assumption cannot be that it's his fault. You know, we always start from ourselves and trying to figure out what could I have done differently. That isn't to say that obviously certain plays require your teammates to play really well, and if they mess up, it's your fault. At that point, it's a risk assessment game. So solo queue carries a lot of that psychology and risk assessment at the end of the day, but you need to try to play as best as possible. Why am I showing you this is because I think it's a very important thing to know that you will come very often to the positions where you will stop learning. You will forget why you're playing the game, and you're just going to go into this autopilot mode and play the games for the sake of playing them and not learning anything. In fact, it can even regress, which usually happens at around Diamond 2 ELO. And there are players who actually go backwards. But you want to get to that mentality where you just lash out and it's everyone's fault, and you start to, like, your aim is like this. Sometimes it goes even backwards and you start regressing. Because even if you stay still, that's a bit of an issue of ever changing game. Even if you stay still, you're actually going downwards because everyone else is moving upwards slowly across time. So stagnating is not good. But there's this ELO inflation over time, let's say. So in order to compensate for this ELO inflation, to remain in the same position, to remain in status quo, you still have to slowly improve every time and again. So now, why I brought up this in the first place, in an ever-changing place, the guys who are the fastest at improving and figuring out the line to the best improvement possible go out on top, always. Because the faster you improve, you get exponential results. So if you adapt this learning mentality, you will get ahead of your peers, I guarantee you. Okay, no more paint graphs, I promise. At least for this video. Now let's hit up some concrete tips. Rule number 1, don't tilt, don't point out your teammates' mistakes. Tilt typing and pointing out mistakes of a player you will never see again in your life is pointless. Your goal is to win that specific game. Do whatever it takes to win that game. Drop ego, never type. You're a human and you will tilt. You're not Spock, okay? So when the inevitable happens, take a break. It's better to play 6 decent games during a day than 8 average games. The math speaks for itself. So if you play 2-3 bad games, lose all 3 of them, you're emotionally incapable of tryharding in the next one, obviously. Take a break, do 15 minutes of push-ups, go eat, go do something in your life, come back if you really have to play again. Rule number 2, don't die. Now this is one of the best impossible rules ever. I have seen people hear these 2 words and get so much better after. It's unreal. But only if you truly understand what I mean. It doesn't mean you can't die ever. It just means to look after your deaths. Every death is a key point. One of the best ways to improve is look at your deaths. See which death could have been avoided, which one could have been prevented, and which ones were worth and which ones were very risky. Also, by trying not to die, you get into mentality of seeing who can kill you and how. That is one of the most crucial understandings you can have in a game. Let's say you're in loading and you're playing vel'koz. First, you have to analyze the enemy team. Who do they have? And who is your biggest threat? Like, you won't care about the Darius that they have in top lane. You won't care about the Veigar that they have in mid lane. You think about who can kill you and how. Your biggest threat, let's say a Rakan in the bot lane, because there's not much counterplay if he does ult charm into knockup. You can't really counterplay that. That will guide your positioning throughout the game to near perfection. And the best positioning to have in a single game is the position where you almost die but never die. Playing on the razor's edge. So it's a constant struggle to be on that line of perfect balance. Rule number 3 ties into the consistency, especially in Season 11. Pre-season, Season 11 is crazier than ever. There's fights all around. What is the best thing to do when your teammates constantly fight and play incorrect in macro terms? Is to slow the game down and play correct. I always say you have to be the anchor point of your team. What it means is slowly accrued advantages, don't drop advantages. If people are random, fight all the time, Fiesta-like, they will gain and drop advantages all the time. If you slowly keep accruing them and never wasting them, you will get out on top at the end of the day. So after about 15 minutes of random fights, of NARAM fights, you are the guy who's ahead of everyone else, hence you have the most impact in trying to carry the game. Rule number 4, consciousness, never autopilot. You are a much better player than you display in the game, because you're not using your full capacity. What that means is you don't want any downtime in your gameplay. If you've seen Shroud play any first-person shooter, you will see that he doesn't have a millisecond where he's not doing anything. He's using 100% of his given time to absorb data and use that data to make decisions. So when you get to the champion select, look at things. Absorb all the things, see the champions. Think about what they're gonna do, how they're gonna synergize, how they're gonna play together. What is your current build path you're going for that particular game? You can deduce all of that in just the champion select. Now that leaves you loading screen to think about specific strategies and how to position and how the team fights are going to go. Maybe even think about your win conditions. Which of your key characters has to get fed? Which of the enemy's key characters can never get fed? Should you play for dragon? Should you play for early game, mid game, late game? Those are all key decisions to make, and you have to come in a game with a plan. A guy without a plan plays according to the opponent's plan. Now, sometimes opponents will be bad and have a really terrible plan, and you will win, but you didn't learn anything while the opponents learned that their plan is bad. So making mistakes is fine as long as you're making them consciously and you know what went wrong. So in the meta game, in the long-term game, even the guy who loses, but he knows how to fix the mistake, won. Rule number 5, don't judge your performance whether you won or lost a game. You will lose so many games that you play really well, you will win so many games that you play really bad. I've seen so many people send in their best games for coaching because they thought they were perfect and they just wanted to show off. But at the end of the day, you found most of their chronic mistakes during those games because they're blind to those very mistakes. If you did a strategy and lost a game, doesn't mean that the strategy is bad. Try to examine it deeply and compare yourself to the perfect player. What could a perfect player have done in your scenario? Rule number 6, keep it very simple. Don't play too many champions, don't play only one champion. As I always say, in a battle of a one trick and a main will beat the one trick because he has more vast knowledge. Play everything, learn everything, specialize in specific things. Usually I say you have to play 2 champions per role. Obviously those champions can be same across multiple roles, certain champions play multiple roles, but have at least 2 for every role. Don't be mad about autofill, it's a perfect opportunity to learn more. Also another bonus tip, if you're struggling against a specific champion, you can't seem to beat them, go play that champ. That will give you a vast insight into what are the champion's strengths and weaknesses, and it will prepare you better to counterplay it. Rule number 6, vision score. When I looked at all the stats from every single elo, I did a lot of research and I found out that the only linear improvement across the elos is the vision score, along with map control. Sometimes a bronze player will have more kills than challenger. Sometimes diamond player will have better farm than challenger. Depends how the game goes. Depends how the meta goes. The only thing that improves linearly is vision score. So use your wards and buy a lot of pink wards. Don't ever sit on 2 yellow wards because you're essentially wasting them. If you don't put a ward at 2 wards, you will never start getting the circle for the 3rd one because you're never going to get a 3rd one. Might as well drop it and get that cooldown running. And then later on, you're going to learn more about placement, where to drop them. All of this is meaningless if you don't look at the map, try to get a habit of looking at the map. And the final tip for this video, so I don't want to make it too long, is enjoy the game. Players are much better, much more creative when you're enjoying the game. So don't play a single champion just because it's broken or it has good win rate. Play what you enjoy, that way you can be more creative, create different solutions to different problems, and you will get much better results. And at the end of the day, video games are made to be played for fun. Anyway, that's about it for this video. I will probably release more of these videos. If you liked it, drop a like and give me a comment so I know you like this type of content. I stream on Twitch basically daily, so if you want to talk about any of these things, I'm always there. You can ask me a question if there's something you didn't understand or if there's something you would like to learn in depth. Also, if you like my content on YouTube, click the notification bell because subs don't mean anything, let's be real. Also, if you want to support me on Twitch TV, it would mean a lot to me because it's my daily job. I invest a ton of time into it and I love doing it. Primes are free. And yeah, I can't wait to see you there, guys. Everything about personal coaching is in my Twitch TV description. So hope you enjoyed it and peace.